in a kind of a broad sense, I'm sort of happy to see the amount of attention that GPT and similar technologies have garnered from the mainstream market, because I think it only puts an emphasis on how important language is to the world and to how we function and how technology functions. So from a kind of very broad level, I see that as being, a positive. On the other hand, as I was mentioning about like deep learning and sort of the trajectory of what we're seeing in the AI trends, Chat GPT is part of, kind of the generative AI story, which I know a lot of people are talking about now, but, it's something that has been percolating and formulating for quite some time. It's now garnering so much attention because when you take a sort of change in technology, now you're getting to a next level where you're not looking at, taking existing data or generating data that you're now sort of curating and doing things with. Now you're generating it. There's not that kind of human in the loop control over what's actually being produced. So the trajectory with generative AI gives, this huge amount of promise. Why? Because you're now able to leverage large language models, that are taking just like enormous amounts of parameters and able to kind of do and generate content that looks very intelligent, that looks very smart, and is pulling, more data points than a kind of average human being could ever possibly do, and doing that very quickly and coming out with a coherent answer. However, it's introducing a new question, I think, in the overall AI market that is kind of being fleshed out as we speak. And I think everybody has great attention on it, but I think most people don't really know how that's going to look, because we're now shifting the paradigm that we had in kind of the localization context, where you're taking something existing like source content and you're doing something with it, you're translating it, you might be leveraging it for some marketing or, different types of things having to do with some concept that was already generated. And now you're dealing with concepts that are being generated by a machine. And I think it just shifts kind of in a way we haven't had an opportunity to really reflect on what the trustworthiness factor is of the machine. So rather than kind of the older paradigm of showing how much productivity a machine has compared to a human, we're now looking at a machine and generating machine content that doesn't involve a human necessarily, and maybe okay, but maybe not. And so the business use cases that will get applied to will obviously create more and more questions around, how is this going to affect search? How is this going to affect lots of kind of avenues of information generation that we kind of rely on and we sort of trust? And now we might not be able to trust it so much, or we could find ourselves in a position where the devil's in the details of the language, because what could be meant and understood a certain way that Chat GPT or any other kind of similar technology could generate is always going to have that little bit of hesitation that could be managed, but not entirely in concept. It can't be entirely managed out. So what's the role of the human in that? As consumers, we have a kind of different perspective that also throws into question, what it is that actually gets produced by machines. How much are people going to actually pay attention to that, and things like that, which will affect many more things than just kind of the role of humans in the AI data supply chain. It's going to affect, every kind of industry.